You're listening to the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the place where you, as a dad, will gain more tools for your fathering toolbox, and where moms and daughters are also invited to listen into the conversation. Now, here is your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dad Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. I'm so thrilled that you're here today. And Dad, if you want to add more tools to your fathering toolbox, then you've come to the right place. Well, the grid I use every week, you know it by now. What is it? Say it with me. On your mark, get set, go. So Dad, picture yourself standing there with other dads getting ready to run your fathering race this week. I'm on the sidelines as your coach, cheering you on and saying, on your mark, get set, go. On your mark is the topic or the theme. Get set. We're going to fill that in with stories and stats, and go is always your practical action step so you can put your love for your daughter, even your son, into action this week. Well, today I have a guest coach joining me named Gary Wilkerson. Gary is a renowned speaker, a podcaster, and president of World Challenge, which is an organization with a vision to encourage church leadership and revive the church. Gary has traveled to speak at mission leadership conferences, listen to this, in 70 different countries. And he has supported the church planting efforts across the world, relief efforts, and even has a newly released book titled The Jaw-Dropping Beauty of Jesus and God's Favor. Subtitle, Experiencing the Life God Wants You to Have. If his last name sounds familiar, Wilkerson, it's because you may recognize that name because his father obviously shares the same name, or shared. I know he's with Jesus now. David Wilkerson is a best-selling author of The Cross and the Switchblade. Gary is a dad to 4 kids, and today we're going to be talking in depth about his relationship with his younger. I'm saying that again. And today we're going to talk in depth about his relationship with his youngest, who happens to be his only daughter. So today, as a fellow girl dad, you're going to hear from one dad about his heart for his daughter, and I know his story will touch your heart. He and his wife, Kelly, live in Colorado Springs. Welcome, Gary Wilkerson.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. Appreciate being with you. I love your theme. I love your heart because I love my daughter so much. She's so precious.
Oh, that's so great.
She's a gem.
I love some of your quotes, and I'm going to actually start with some of those in a minute, because you say, once a girl dad?
Always a girl dad.
Always a girl dad. I love it. Well, on your mark today, we're calling this Finding Your Way with a Wayward Daughter. So now for Get Set, as we just kind of set the foundation, I know that you also said once you hold your baby girl, something happens instantly where you feel more protective, more tender, and more aware of anything that could harm her.
That's right.
So dads, do I hear an amen?
Yeah.
Right. Every dad can relate to you in that.
So I had 3 boys first, and I looked in their eyes and said, you're going to do this and you're going to go and do that. With my daughter, it was opposite. She's never going anywhere. You're staying home with daddy. And now, since that time, it's changed. Now I'm just pro daughter.
Yeah, you have an adult daughter. You're going to share more about her story here in a minute. So how about we just start there? Tell the story about your daughter, Annie.
Yeah, Annie.
And what that journey has looked like from the point where you held her in your arms that first time, once a girl dad, always a girl dad, to where you are now. Tell us that story.
Well, 3 sons, spanking them all the time. I'm sure some of your audience spanks. A lot of them probably see it in a different light in this generation. But back in the day, we used to do that. And one of my sons would be like, I'd say, don't eat that cookie. Don't take that cookie from the shelf. And he would say, why not? And I said, well, because I'm going to spank you if you don't do it. And he would say, how many licks? And I'd say 3. He goes, how hard? I go, medium. And he'd go like, okay, I'm going to eat the cookie. So he was like my daughter.
Calculated risk.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm doing it.
My daughter, totally opposite. Like, sweetheart, never had to hardly ever discipline her at all. Like, just one word, and she'd like a little tear come out of her eyes. Soft heart, tender heart. Mm-hmm. And, and she loved Jesus from an early age, but things began to change. In high school, she started facing sort of the sense of not being enough, of feeling inadequate, always measuring herself up against what other girls look like and act like. My daughter's beautiful, but
welcome to Venus.
She didn't know it,
right? Most women I know that live on the planet, right? You're from Mars. Really, honestly, you're describing most adolescents that I've known, even myself at that age.
Yeah. So
vulnerable to influences then.
Yeah, and that pain oftentimes drives people to try to comfort themselves, and she started using alcohol as a comfort. For me, that was...
Without your knowledge?
Without my knowledge,
Okay.
yeah, secretly. For me, that was so hard because my father, who you mentioned in the introduction, started a ministry called Teen Challenge, which is a drug rehabilitation program, drug and alcohol. There's about 1,500 centers around the world. So while I'm talking to you now, there's about 30,000 people in recovery getting help, getting to know Jesus, getting over their addiction. I just met someone a few seconds ago in the hallway, said, Gary, I graduated from Teen Challenge in 2017.
Because here we are at National Religious Broadcasters Conference, right?
So it's great
So
to see.
then your dad didn't struggle with addiction, even though that became his passion, his heart.
Yeah, no, he's been a Christian since he was a little boy. In the ministry his whole life, but he started this program. So I'm thinking, my dad is helping people all around the world. I can't even keep my own kids free from drugs and alcohol. And then my daughter it got worse and worse and worse to where she was drinking herself to, right? We had to take her to the hospital, the blood poisoning, knockout, kind of falling on the floor. She had 2 kids at the time when this was later on in life as she got a little bit older.
She was still drinking even
she
then.
was still
So going
drinking.
back to high school then, how long did it take for you as a dad, even your wife, to be aware there's something going on here?
It wasn't too long, but every time we found out, we would have a good sit down. I'm a father who loves conversation. I want to dig. I want to ask tons of questions. Why? I don't want to just say, the Bible says don't drink or don't use drugs.
That doesn't work anyway, does it?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, because you're not really getting to the root of the problem. And so I would ask tons of questions, and she would get a little bit better. She would get healthy. And then we believed in going to counseling too. So she went to counseling, Christian counseling, and that helped her. But then...
Well, let me ask you before then.
Sure.
What was that like for you at the time? Because I imagine you're asking yourself, perhaps that infamous question, what did I do wrong?
Absolutely.
What did I not do enough of
Yeah.
to have created this void in her, or a hunger for more filling, or to numb out? How did you, looking back, process that, deal with that?
Yeah, terrible shame, doubt, discouragement, self-hatred even, like, because I'm so stupid, what did I do? Why couldn't I have been a better father? For me, it was, and business leader fathers probably face the same thing, but I was a pastor father. I was a pastor of a church at the time, and so...
Well, let's just add that in. You're supposed
so-
to, if you can't shepherd your own daughter, how are you supposed to shepherd the church?
Right, yeah.
Adding to shame.
It brings a lot of shame.
Did you open up to other men and other leaders, or did you keep it more to yourself?
I kept it to myself a little bit. Finally, talked to a few people in the church, some of my, I call them elders in the church, some of the friends, and it was a mixed bag. Some of them thought, like, what did you do wrong? And others were like, hey, we understand.
Okay, what would you say to the dad listening who may be a church leader?
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much hiddenness. I mean, right? Let's not get started on the stuff that's blowing up with leaders these days.
Right.
Because I don't think there's always a safe place to say, I'm struggling, my family is struggling.
Yeah.
What would you say to those church leaders, friends, that you wish you would have heard then?
I love that question. Yeah, the ministry leaders or any leader at all can be very lonely. They talk in the business. They talk about lonely at the top when you're a CEO or own your own business or you're pastoring a church. And so finding somebody that you can trust. I would encourage fathers not to tell the story to too many people. I made that mistake because I'm a vulnerable person, and I even told my whole church about it, and probably 20 families left the church, thinking like, oh, if you can't take care of your own sons and daughters, then you don't take care of us. So, and that caused more shame and more guilt. So find somebody that you trust. I always say to people, the story you most don't want to tell is the story that you most need to tell. And so if you have shame, whether it be something in your children that you're wanting to hide or something in your own heart you're wanting to hide, a lot of pastors that I minister to right now are struggling with pornography. They say almost 50%. And that's a story they need to tell somebody, not hide it and hold it, because that just causes a cycle of shame. You engage in something, or you start thinking about you're a failure as a father, and that cycle makes you feel more shame, then you and it's hard to keep a good relationship going with others and with your own family if you're not doing that. Yeah.
And I've been investing in the fatherhood space now for 15 years. I can't believe
Good for
it's been
you.
that long. But
I'm
where
so happy to hear that.
fathers often tears pouring down their cheeks saying, I didn't know other dads were dealing with this because we don't tend to talk about this. Or in this group setting, they would open up about the hurts and their failures or perceived failures. Yeah. And my heart is really to equip dads to communicate. That's why my second book is called Let's Talk.
Yeah.
Come on, start a conversation, even with your daughter, about what you may believe is your failure as a dad, because the more you can keep that conversation going, I think it really does go back to James 5, where it says, confess your sin, or I think it could mean speak out.
Yeah.
Talk about it, confess it. It could be your sin or sin done to you or things you see happening to your kids, one to another, so you may be what?
Healed.
Yes. The healing only comes when you open it up. And I don't mean to be gross here, but it's kind of like if you have a zit. It heals when you pop it. You got to get it out. I know that's gross, but I appreciate you saying, Gary, looking back, you wish there would have perhaps been more depth of understanding because you were fathering then with a lot of shame and guilt, perhaps in isolation at times in ways you didn't need to.
Yeah, my wife and I went to Al-Anon and got more help there than we did at the church, which is sad.
And tell people what that is who may not know.
Alcoholics, well, it's for the families of alcoholics. It's a support group. And first time we walked into that, and even my church, probably I wouldn't have told them I was going to that because it's, that's secular. But man, it was just like they just gave you an opportunity to tell the story. And I started
people
telling.
That are real.
And the first time I started telling the story about my daughter and when my sons were struggling well at the same time, I just started weeping, and so it's so good to let that out, so to pop the zit, as you're saying.
Yeah, and you know what an Al-Anon and an AA concept is that I think in the church would go far is there's no crosstalk allowed. Meaning you share your story and people don't give advice or input. They simply do what? Listen and create a safe space for honesty, for vulnerability. And that's what is a huge, I think, component sometimes missing, but that is such a healing dynamic relationally.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, then they'll tell their story too, so you feel, I'm not alone.
Yeah, me too.
And then all of a sudden, and I think that's where shame often dissipates, is when you realize you're not alone. And for me, the Holy Spirit was so precious to me, just asking him questions. Just like I want my kids to ask me questions, I would ask God questions, and he would speak to me, so I asked him, am I a failure as a father? And I had this amazing word from the Lord that said, I was a perfect father and my first kids failed. It's like God, Adam and Eve went wrong, and you can't blame that on God. So it took the sense of because I have found many good, healthy, Christian, godly, praying, communicating families, their kids have struggles. And I've seen families where the mother and father were struggling with alcohol or all kinds of different things, and the kids, just living straight as arrows. And so it's not necessarily a direct equation to this kind of parenting always gets you that type of thing.
Yeah, well said. I'm so glad you included that. And did you have, because we know there's a genetic piece oftentimes to alcoholism, is any of that generations back then?
A little bit, yeah, not so much, but yeah, I was a little surprised because I know that, but I thought there would be more. But we look back in the history, and there wasn't too much. One uncle, and that's about it. Yeah.
So you know what I just want to underscore here for those dads listening is that I think we often look for an explanation or perhaps even someone to blame, and that's not going to help you heal.
No.
Right? No. It's what do we do now? How do you become a dialed-in dad to your daughter or your son who is struggling? So then what happened after high school?
After high school, she sober for a good while, got married, doing good. Then some pressures of maybe parenting got after her a little bit, and that's when it actually took a turn for even worse. So she was, that's where we'd get a call from her husband. Hey, you got to come over and take care of her, and that's where the hospital visits came and stuff. But and she'd be doing like what a lot of people do, crying out to the Lord, like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this." But right. And those in a really bizarre way, those are really important times too, where you pick up your daughter who's on the couch, almost passed out and you're taken to the hospital,
Wow.
you're just letting her know you love her. You let her know that she's not a failure, that God's with her, that, and I think that's, we'll probably get to the solution here as we talk together
Yes.
a little bit, but that's in the battle. Like, sometimes we don't know what to do. And I just recommend people just keep loving your daughter. Just, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have, like you do, a PhD. You can just be a good old dad and really just keep caring, keep thinking, keep
Let
praying.
her see your tears.
Yeah. And then the last thing I always recommend others that ask me now about was what did you do when she was at her worst? And had this other word from the Lord is like, remember when I asked Moses' mother to put Moses in a basket and let her go down the river? Trust me.
Yeah, let him go down the river.
Let him go down the river. Yeah. So I just picture putting my daughter in a basket, just saying, God, she's in your hands now. I can't control her. I can't fix this. I didn't cause it. It's not my fault, but it's so Lord, you take her. And it wasn't long after that started seeing her recovery process. That was, oh man, talk about an amazing time of your life when you just start seeing her get healthy.
Did you, before she then chose that healthy route, did you and Annie ever have conversations about
Absolutely.
Your guilt or your sense of failure as a dad?
Totally. That I would tell her, some of this has to do with my absence, my failure of not connecting with you deeply. I got so busy. I would repent her. I would apologize. Tears in my eyes. Say, Annie, I'm so sorry. It's just like.
Would she say yes? That was a contributor. Or?
Yeah, she would. Yeah, she would.
That's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah, but you got to have them, right?
I think if you don't,
it doesn't heal.
You don't heal.
No,
right?
You got to get to the.
How did you have the
surgeon.
courage to hear her input?
Desperation, just like
I'll do anything.
I'll do. Yeah, I think a lot. I think about what God wants me to do. And so as I think about that, I realized there were some things that I could have done better, which all of us as fathers and parents could say, I could have done that better. And yet that doesn't excuse us though. And we do need to go to our kids. And I've gone to all four of my kids and said, as a matter of fact, so much so to the point they go, Dad, please stop. Oh my gosh.
You say, give me input. Like, where did I fail you as a father? Or where did I do well, or both, or one or the other?
Both. I knew where I had failed. And so when I said that to them, they all admitted it.
You led with that.
Yeah, I led with that. But then I asked them as well. And kids will usually be, I don't know what your experience is, but mine has been, they'll usually not really want to face that. They kind of tend to think, especially when they're younger, like, oh, Dad, no, you were great. You were amazing. You almost have to convince them, like, some of your pain is caused, like when you were in high school, sweetheart, and you were feeling this pressure from all your friends. I didn't even really know about it too much. And I didn't ask you, like when you came home hurting, I wish I had dug deeper into your heart, not just
I love that.
What are your grades, who are your friends, are they Christian friends, because even Christian friends can be kind of mean sometimes and cause you to be hurt. And
I think if I had a word to sum up what I'm hearing your stance to be, Gary, it's that you came with humility. And so we're going to stop right there, take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We'll be right back.
Are you a dad who has ever desired a deeper connection with your daughter, but haven't known how to go about it? Let's Talk Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters is the very resource you need. Dr. Michelle wrote it with you dads in mind. This book will support you with scripted questions, equip you to decode your daughter, and inspire you with stories of other dads and daughters. Don't wait any longer to be the hero you want to be and that your daughter needs you to be. So, to let the talking begin, head on over to drmichellewatson.com/books and order your copy today. This book will become a favorite in your fathering toolbox and will give you the answers you've been looking for. That's drmichellewatson.com/books. Now, back to the Dad Whisperer podcast.
Welcome back. I'm here today with my new friend, Gary Wilkerson, a girl dad himself. He's been sharing the story of his daughter, struggle through alcoholism, even into adulthood. She's now sober. How long has that been?
Probably 8 years now.
And she's a part of your ministry.
Tell
us that part of the story.
She's one of the key leaders in our ministry. Yes, she went from sobriety to getting trained in cosmetology, and so she was. You can't see on radio. I have long hair, so she always said, "Dad, please come in. Let me cut your hair." But then about 18 months ago, there was a position open at World Challenge, the ministry that I lead, and she fit the bill correctly. To avoid nepotism, I always run things like that through my board, and they saw her, met her, approved of her, said that she's perfect for that job. And so she has a keen awareness of like a discernment. So she knows how to help our ministry thrive, and I couldn't do it without her now. She's just and everybody, we have about 35 employees. Every one of them just loves Annie. She's just like the spark plug when she walks into the room.
How long has she been a part of that with you?
About 18 months now.
Oh, so pretty new
Pretty
still.
new, yeah.
You know, I think just to underscore something that you know, but that I know even in my professional work is everyone I've ever met who has struggled with drugs or alcohol and then is on the other side of it especially, but there's such a tender heart.
Absolutely.
There's a deep emotive part of how God's wired them that I think led to the vulnerability to maybe numb some of that intense wiring as a feeler, as an empath.
I've never heard that before, but I think you're spot on. Yeah.
And so because God doesn't waste pain, she's been carved out deeply, but now out of that deep reservoir of being filled up with your love, her mom's love, her husband's love, her kids' love, God's love, she's able to minister out of that so much more effectively.
That's right. Yeah. And she's been a help in a way that she didn't even know. So a lot of the work we do at World Challenge is with orphans and kids on the street in the 70 or so different nations that we work in. And how I lead my ministry is saying, when I remember holding Annie in my arms saying, I'm going to protect her, I'm going to watch out for her. So now when I think of the orphans that we're caring for, I think of my daughter Annie, like how would I want her to be treated if I was gone and she was living a rough life like that. And so our orphan care is not just here's some food or clothes. It's like a family for you, a Christian environment where you're going to be loved. And my daughter drives that energy within me. Like we have feeding programs, and now I'll speak as a dad. So in these feeding programs, we were in Nairobi, and there was a lineup of people that were getting food they were hungry, and I met a young kid, and he said, I'm starting to come here, but my dad came here when he was young. So 15 years of doing the same ministry, and it hit me. I wouldn't want to be a dad who somebody knocks on my door every day. Here's your food for your family. I want to provide for them myself. And so we started a program based on my desire to treat my children well, of training fathers in developing countries, how to do cottage industries, how to create environment to provide for your own family. So instead of them going to a feeding program, now we meet them and they go like, thank you. The skill has helped me. Now I have 6 kids. Yeah, absolutely. And so again, it's like the relationship we build with our own family can speak to, I'd say, like in the business world, how do we treat our clients?
Yes.
Treat them like you would your own spouse or your own children. Like that's how you create a good culture for your job, for your church, for your family, for whatever you do.
Well, you know what that brings to mind is I often encourage dads to find a place to volunteer with their daughter alongside.
I love that. Yeah.
Are there volunteer opportunities?
At World Challenge?
Yeah, World Challenge.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. We're in Colorado Springs.
Okay, come on, man. They can reach out, find you there.
WorldChallenge.org, yeah.
WorldChallenge.org.
Yeah, we have a lot of prayer ministry for people that are in these developing countries. We'll find out their needs and have teams of people praying for them. And some go to these areas and partner in ministry.
So how cool would that be for a dad and a daughter to do a volunteer project together?
It would change their life.
Headed by a dad who's gone through the brokenness. The vulnerability to restoration.
Yeah.
God's always about writing those stories.
Amen.
Isn't he?
So,
and if you're at a
much
place, Dad, where you're discouraged because you have a wayward daughter, what would you say from your heart to that dad right now, Gary?
Hold on. Don't give up. God's not finished yet. My wife and I made it through this of a song a friend of ours wrote called It's Not Over, God's Not Finished. And right when you felt like this is going to be our future, we're going to be dealing with this girl for years to come because, now it's an adult addiction and just so many stories of, parents that I know. I'm in my 60s and they have 40-year-old kids who are still in and out
struggling.
of rehabs and stuff like that. So I kind of was wondering, Lord, is that going to be our story? And then others, there's a lot of fear too for dads. Like,
totally.
If my daughter's struggling with this thing, what if I get that phone call at 3 a.m. from the police that she's overdosed? And that's happening now with fentanyl to a large degree. And so there's a tremendous amount of fear. And I would just say, keep praying, keep my wife and I would just do remember when Moses raised both hands to heaven?
And two friends held his arms up.
Help get people around you to help hold your arms up.
Yes.
And as long as you're doing that, then the victory was going to be won.
When
you let down and start saying this is too much, I can't handle it, I give up, then things go worse. But yeah, faith is really the key to this whole thing.
Even I love how, the story in the New Testament with Jesus where the friends took their disabled, right?
Oh, yeah, and brought
crippled friend on the mat, and they cut the hole in the ceiling. And then what does it say? When Jesus saw their faith, he healed the man, not the man's faith.
Right. And
so when you're tired, Dad, from fighting an addiction on behalf of your daughter or maybe your own, get people around you. And that's where I think too many men suffer in isolation.
So true.
Because it's not always the norm among men to, that whole never let them see you cry, be tough, man up.
That's right.
And yet we know Jesus set the model of weeping and let down the wall, let down the guard. You're saying be vulnerable, find a trusted friend.
We teach at our conference, our leadership conference, we have the men hold up one hand, and we say, just hold up your left hand and right hand, and as fast as you can do it, count your 5 closest friends, the ones you can be totally vulnerable with, that you can share stories of struggles you have, and most of us can't even find 5 friends to do that. And you told the story of Jesus and the 4 men that brought the paralytic to him.
Yeah.
Most of us are like one person trying to help 4, rather than Jesus had that reversed. It's 4. You need 4 people in your life, 5 people in your life to help you carry your burden.
Oh, you're absolutely right. So I know we don't have too much time left, and I have so many more questions for you that are just, really bubbling up in me. But what would you say, Gary, to the dad who didn't grow up in a family where you were honest? You covered shame, you covered choices, or you don't really want to open up your family laundry. Yeah. And really there aren't 5 people that he could list off the top of his head on his hand as he holds it up at your conference. What would you say to him? Where does he start to get support?
I usually ask them to start with me. I said, I'm right here right now, and we have about 15 minutes. Tell me the story that you most don't want to tell. Okay. And when they do, oh man, usually a river of tears start flowing. Yeah. And they usually will say, I've never told anybody this before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it has something to do with something that happened to them in their own childhood, some abuse that took place. And so that childhood wound is still within them. Yes. And so they've not been healed yet. And they're not going to be able to really do a whole lot. You can do a whole lot of surface things. Yeah. Here's 5 rules of how to treat your daughter. And you can do them best your ability, and it will help. But if you get that inner healing, I'm going to go to somebody, tell my story, work it all out, find out what areas I'm still, because our past is not really our past. It's with us presently. It's who we are now. I fully agree. And so there's certain things within you. And as that is healed, then you'll see it just comes naturally. You freely you receive, the Bible says, freely you give. Yeah. But if you haven't received healing, it's going to be hard to give the kind of powerful connection with your daughter that you need to have if you don't know how to connect. Yeah. Can you picture that? You don't know how to connect with anybody because you're guarding your heart. Yes. You're self-protecting all the time. You're not going to be able to do that with your own children.
And I think about, especially, I'm almost 30 years now as a clinician in the trenches with men and women. And like you, often I've been the first person they've ever told certain stories to. And I watch the difference on a face.
Yes, exactly.
When there is kind of an offloading of something that's been weighing them down.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's like eyes get brighter. Yeah. And I can say that in my own story. Yeah. I have lots of trauma, Gary, lots of abuse and multiple offenders.
Early on? Yeah.
And
is that why you went into the field you're in?
Yes. Okay. 8 years I was a client.
What type of clinic work do you do?
I've been in private practice whole time.
Okay.
But being that safe place, a safe witness to someone's pain, like someone was for me. Yeah. Because I did find a counselor who was skilled, could hold my story, not give up on me halfway through because her own stuff would get triggered. Yeah. And some of those realities really do happen with friends. Yeah. Their own lives take over. It's not personal, but they don't have a margin or a bandwidth to really keep you propped up or lower you down in the ceiling much. Yeah. Their own strength is compromised. Yeah. So I say, find a counselor.
Absolutely.
Ask around.
Yeah.
Maybe the pastor doesn't feel safe because he hasn't done his own work.
Yeah.
Or maybe your friends don't have a bandwidth. There's usually a way to find a counselor in your area. And I think the cool thing, too, is there's so much more online resources now.
Yeah.
I do coaching around the country now, call it coaching out of my state, where especially with men who invite me into their space to be a safe witness, to hold their stories like you've done, there's always somewhere. Aren't we both saying there's hope that there's someone somewhere,
Right.
even if you have to pay for the service?
You should.
You know,
You should. It's
but I tell people, you can't pay me to care. This is genuine. I want to see you get set free. And I remember one time when someone was like, first time someone asked me, how can you listen to people's problems all day? And I said, that's not what I do.
Yeah.
I have a front row seat
Yes.
to seeing God show up for people.
Yeah.
So is there anything, before I'm going to ask you one last go step, but any other details to the story that you would love to share to give dads hope who may be in a place of addiction, struggle with their daughter?
Yeah, the Bible passage of he who's been forgiven much loveth much. So if they're struggling now, hold on. Jesus will get a hold of them. Trust him. And when he does, they come out the other end more bright, more loving, more grateful. I grew up in a Christian home where gratitude for what the Lord has done for me was limited in my own heart because I was like, well, he didn't really save me from a whole lot of bad sin. I don't really remember doing anything all that bad. But with my daughter, it's like, oh man, he rescued me. He saved me. He saved my she has 3 boys. My 3 precious little boys have a mom now who's present them, who loves them. And so, that's what I would say.
So your daughter's addiction and the process actually deepened your own faith walk.
Absolutely.
In your relationship with God.
Yeah.
I love that. Such a redemptive story.
And counseling. I went to counseling.
Come on.
And I'm not ashamed to say that. A lot of pastors are. Like, I'll tell my pastor friends, hey, go get a counselor, do some therapy, do some heart work, do some deep work in your heart. I go, oh, no, I'm just trusting the Lord. Well, trust the Lord will put somebody in your life who can dig out some of those things, ask some good questions. But I also recommend somebody like exactly what you said, caring. So I went through a process. My first counselor, I met with him 3 or 4 times, and he looked like he was bored to death. I mean, he just kind of looked at his watch and kind of occasionally he'd ask me a question. After about 3 or 4 sessions,
goodness.
And then I thought, I'm going to give up. And then the second guy I met with, I was like,
night and day.
He's like a brother, just like so caring. And the questions he asks are like, throw me off guard.
Oh, I love it.
I was just like, oh man, I hadn't thought about that. Or, why are you digging there? That hurts, but such a good way. So fathers,
so
don't be, you can only take your child as far as you go yourself. And if you
that right there, men, take that one to the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, you can only lead your daughter and take her where you've been.
Right. Yeah.
In your own life, in your own story. Well, I end every show with a go step. So here's my last question for you. What is one practical action step that you would encourage a dad to take today, proactively, either before her daughter heads into addiction, walks away from herself, her family, her faith, or right now in his life?
Questions. That's my go-to point, just asking questions. Parents tend to sometimes always want to lecture or give advice or fix things, especially dads. I think dads are like, you hear a problem and immediately, well, here's how you fix that. You do these 3 things. What I'm learning with my daughter still to this day is she just wants me to listen and then ask her, how did that make you feel?
Yes.
Are you still feeling that way now? Have you talked to anybody else besides me? And then she'll answer the question, and then I'll ask her a question about her answer.
About her question? About her answer, and then the question keeps going deeper.
And then
the conversation goes
comes
deeper.
out of her heart. And then she feels heard, and I think that's what
I love it.
Everybody wants. Maybe, I hope this doesn't sound wrong gender-wise, but I'm finding my daughter, more than my sons, needs some in-depth, eye-to-eye contact, heart-to-heart conversation. With the boys, it's a little more like, hey, knucklehead, get over it. And they like that, kind of a little more rough.
So once again, look at how daughters expand a dad's capacity for emotional connection. Yay, such a gift.
That's so good.
Oh, Gary, thank you so much for sharing your story and being here today.
Thank you. Can I just say, I love the way you conduct your conversation, which is, you can't fake this either. So you have done something really good with your heart before the Lord, and that's going to help a lot of people. So keep up the good work. Thank you for letting me be a small part of it today.
Thank you, Gary. Well, today On Your Mark has been Finding Your Way with a Wayward Daughter. I've been here with my new friend, Gary Wilkerson. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you to make today a day where you intentionally and consistently invest in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads.
That's awesome.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. If you're looking for more resources to support the father-daughter relationship, or if you want to connect personally with Dr. Michelle, you can find all the information you need at drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com. And remember, you can listen to the Dad Whisperer podcast anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. And while you're there, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.